The role of the pharmacist in the healthcare system of any country is important and vital for the well-being of its people. It is unfortunate that only a handful, even in the health services, is aware of this fact. Therefore, we are compelled to avail of this opportunity to review and examine the progress made by the pharmacists, particularly in the public sector. At present, there are nearly 1,500 pharmacists employed in the government sector in Sri Lanka. After an initial training period of 2 years, pharmacists are entrusted with the sole responsibility of handling the medical supplies, which include pharmaceuticals, surgical consumables, surgical instruments, surgical dressing materials, medical gases and others which comes under medical supplies. Further, pharmacists of the government hospitals are entrusted with proper acceptance of medical supply storage, preserving their quality, efficacy and safety until they reach the patient.
Usually, a patient meets a pharmacist at the counter when the drug is being dispensed. But the role of pharmacist is much more complex and multifaceted. Now if you take in case of the National Hospital of Sri Lanka, we every day get about 2,000 outpatients, 5,000 clinic patients and we have about 3,200 inpatients. Now all these patients, most of these patients would get some kind of medication, and all these medication, all these drugs on being prescribed by the doctors, these drugs are being dispensed by pharmacists. Now to be able to dispense, you have to go back to the supply chain, and the pharmacists play a major role in every aspect of the supply chain when it comes to pharmaceuticals. When it comes to the role of the pharmacist, it is once again, I would say, multifaceted, complex, and they are all over when it comes to pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceutical compounding and dispensing to patients is another important job done by the pharmacists. Pharmacists form the nucleus in the medical supply management system, enriched with the knowledge and practice of estimating, importing, storing, quality controlling, and dispensing of pharmaceuticals. The pharmacist's contribution in medical supply management system comprises of various jobs like hospital pharmacists, stock control officers, pharmaceuticals analysts, regulatory pharmacists, oncology pharmacists, pharmacy administrators, and they maintain a quality healthcare service in the country. Therefore, this indeed is an important wing in the health service. They have to play varying roles from procurement of pharmaceuticals up to delivering them to the ultimate users, the patients, while ensuring their quality, safety and efficacy as well as continuous availability.
Sri Lanka has a world-renowned recognized healthcare delivery system, and within this system the pharmacists play a pivotal role or a distinct role in maximizing the effects of the health services to the citizens of Sri Lanka. Pharmacists work in all hospitals ranging from the primary care institutions to the secondary care and tertiary care, including teaching hospitals, as well as in special institutions such as the Medical Supplies Division, the National Medicinal Regulatory Authority, National Medicinal Quality Control Laboratory and places like that. And in fact, in the hospitals, the pharmacist starts their activity within the pharmaceutical management cycle by estimating the annual estimates or the annual requirements of drugs for the patients attending hospitals. At the Medical Supplies Division, those estimates are calculated into national figures, national annual figures by the pharmacist, so that in the pharmaceutical management cycle, from the estimation until the drugs are issued to the patients as per prescribed by the doctors in Sri Lanka, pharmacists play a very important role. In hospitals, they estimate the drugs, and they play a very important role in getting down the drugs to the hospitals from medical supplies division, and in certain instances urgently purchased through the pharmacies in Sri Lanka, and in fact they are responsible in storing the drugs in compliance with the rules and the criteria laid down by the suppliers. And then of course they are responsible for selecting and issuing the drugs as per prescriptions made by the doctors. Not only issuing drugs, but they play a very important role in educating the people with regard to the effects of drugs, after effects of drugs, and other aspects like overdose and rational use of drugs. So that in all in all, the pharmacists are playing a very important role towards the effective and universal healthcare coverage with regard to the healthcare delivery system in our country.
The Government Pharmacist Service, which commenced in the year 1957, has contributed enormously towards the improving of the health of the Sri Lankan people. The Ceylon Medical Council was established by the Medical Council Ordinance number 24 of 1924. The Medical Ordinance number 26 of 1927 makes provision for registration of pharmacists, and dispensing of drugs and poisons was restricted only to registered pharmacists and pharmaceutical chemists. The training of pharmacists was started in 1955 under the supervision of the Ceylon Medical Council. 13 students were enrolled as the first batch for the training program in 1955, which was conducted by the Colombo Medical Faculty. The course was designed as 2 years training, of which 1 year academic training followed by an internship in the second year. After the successful completion of 2 years training, 5 pharmacists out of the above 13 was awarded a certificate of proficiency as pharmacist by the Ceylon Medical College Council, and then they were eligible to be considered for registration under the Sri Lanka Medical Council to practice as a pharmacist. It was the beginning of this proud profession in Sri Lanka. The Pharmacy School of the Colombo Medical Faculty has produced more than 1,500 professionally qualified pharmacists up to now. In 1988, a school of pharmacy was started at the National Institute of Health Sciences in Kalutara. 36 students were enrolled as the first batch for the training program in 1988. And up to now, more than 1,000 pharmacists have been trained by the National Institute of Health Sciences, Kalutara. Majority of them are deployed in various medical care institutions under the Ministry of Health and in the armed forces, while a few of them are employed abroad. In 1960, the Society of Government Pharmacists was established after several batches passed out as pharmacists. Mr. S. Kandasamy and Mr. W.I. Fernando took all the responsibilities onto their shoulders as the first General Secretary and the first President of the Society of Government Pharmacists. At a time we are passing the 60th year of the Government Pharmacist Service in Sri Lanka, Mr. Ajit P. Tilakaratna and Mr. Atula Amarasena are guiding the Society of the Government Pharmacists towards a new era. The Society of Government Pharmacists has come to a remarkable matured state as a trade union. Although the pharmaceutical industry is rapidly developing in the world, we believe that a sound education in both theoretical as well as practical aspects of pharmacy principles and proper internship covering practical applications of the students learned during pharmacy college will create more professionally qualified pharmacists who can cater both to the national and international needs of the pharmacist profession. The Bachelor of Pharmacy degree program gives the basic foundation on pharmacy in which one can build his professional career with continuous education. In the year 2000, the Chemistry Department of the University of Colombo started a special degree in BSc Pharmacy. After 20 years of initial proposals by a delegation of the Society of Government Pharmacists, and the Pharmaceutical Society of Sri Lanka Bachelor of Pharmacy degree at the Open University of Sri Lanka was started in 2013. After the year 2000, we achieved a milestone in our profession as the first ever Bachelor of Pharmacy degree program, which was started in a Sri Lankan university like Peradeniya, Sri Jayawardhanapura, University of Ruhuna, University of Jaffna, and the Kothalawala Defence University. As a trade union, we played a greater role in initiating this degree program by various means. The University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and the Kothalawala Defence University have also introduced a lateral entry for government pharmacists who are in the service with competitive selection exam and the interview. Today, we are happy to mention significant numbers of pharmacy graduates being recruited as government pharmacists to the hospitals and other health institutions. With regards to pharmacy practice, the pharmacist in a developed country functions as an integral member of the healthcare team and assumes varied functions ranging from procurement to supply of medicines to pharmaceutical care services to ensure the best care for patients. Pharmaceutical care is seen as a process which involves establishing a relationship between the patient and the pharmacist, developing an evidence-based care plan for medicine therapy, and follow-up to achieve the patient's expected health outcome. Pharmacists all over the world are professionals who perform a sensitive duty which binds with life or death of a person.
First, let me start by congratulating the association for the 60 years of service they have rendered to Sri Lanka. Pharmacy was born around in Sri Lanka in 1958. At the beginning, they were mainly involved in procurement and dispensing of medicines in state hospitals. Later, pharmacists were trained to function as community pharmacists, and they have contributed much to the society of Sri Lanka. In recent years, together with clinical pharmacologists, pharmacy has developed into a clinical profession with undergraduate degrees been awarded by several medical faculties in Sri Lanka, and now many diplomates are upgrading their qualification to a degree. The birth of university degree programs has created academic positions for pharmacists. But in Sri Lanka, unlike in most developed countries, the journey towards optimal medicine use in all patients throughout the deployment of clinical pharmacy has only just begun. Sri Lanka, like many other countries, here are far too many cases of poor outcomes from suboptimal medicine use, adverse reactions, and medication errors. Pharmacists also have to face new challenges of aging population and increasing public expectation. The pharmacy services in Sri Lanka therefore has to be redesigned to meet these challenges. However, to their credit, the pharmacists in Sri Lanka has appreciated all these new challenges that are going to be faced by them and have started adapting to them, but they have a long way to go. To put all the new challenges into context, the pharmacists together with the clinical pharmacologists who have been their backbone since inception will have to develop new models of care such as those being piloted in developed countries such as UK. Far too long, the pharmacy profession has somewhat been blocked by other healthcare professionals. And now 60 years has come, and the time for the young, academically sound and confident pharmacists to call for change and come forward to lead their profession to greater heights.
To improve the future existence of the pharmacist service, we should try to develop our professional skills. We should equip ourselves with the new knowledge of pharmacy, and we should also direct ourselves more towards clinical roles of pharmacists as our colleagues in other countries. Internationally, over the past few decades, there has been a trend for pharmacy practice to move away from its original focus on medicine supply towards a more inclusive focus on a patient care. The role of the pharmacist has evolved from that of a compounder and supplier of pharmaceutical products towards that of a provider of services and information, and ultimately that of a provider of a patient care. The knowledge base of pharmacy graduates is changing as these graduates move into practice. So, pharmacy practice itself will change. So, reflect the new knowledge base. If these pharmacists are to contribute effectively to the new patient-centered pharmaceutical practice, they must have the opportunity to acquire the new knowledge and skills required for their new role as clinical pharmacists.
We in Sri Lanka have much more to be achieved with the new developments in the fields such as clinical pharmacy, veterinary pharmacy, community health pharmacy. Our view of pharmacy should be changed in order to deliver a comprehensive service for the benefit of patients. We need to raise our educational levels from graduateship and postgraduate stages. Research in the field of pharmacy is essential for the generation in new knowledge. The field of pharmacy in Sri Lanka has come a long way, and there's lots more to be achieved. It also has to be emphasized that the establishment of the Pharmacy Council and the implementation of the pharmaceutical service are matters of paramount importance for the improvement of the pharmacy service in Sri Lanka.